Broke, dumb, and skinny. Three things that I used to be. And let me tell you, I spent a lot of time there. I know what it's like, and it's shit. And believe it or not, how skinny I am in this bottom left photo, I've actually been going to the gym a bit at this point, yeah. I've actually been training probably a couple of years here. And look, in this video, I'm not holding back. I'm going to tell you exactly how, with no knowledge, skills, connections, experience, or money, I created a very successful business. And how I focused on my self-development at the same time to get in the best shape of my life. And I'm also going to tell you where I went wrong. This is the important bit, yeah. I messed up. If I hadn't made the mistakes that I made, I'd have got where I wanted to go so much faster. Like, honestly, guys, if you can learn from my mistakes here, this took me a lot of pain, a lot of wasted time, a lot of finances to learn these things. Yeah, and I'm hoping you can just take some of that away and you'll get the results way faster than I did. And look, anybody can do this. Yeah, anybody can do what I've done here, no matter what situation you're in. Like I said, when I started, I had nothing, no skills. I wasn't talented as anything as a kid. I wasn't in good shape. I didn't know anything. I was pretty dumb, wasting my time. And yeah, listen, I'm from Bradford. I'm a working class kid from Bradford, yeah. I'm the descendant of factory workers, yeah. My great granddad used to think that buying a house was a waste of money when houses were 400 quid, yeah. The financial independence and knowledge and stuff didn't get passed around my area. They skipped that bit. Yeah, they were in the factory working. Yeah. This is why I'm so passionate about this now, because I'm trying to change that round. So this is where I started, yeah. Just take a second and look how this guy is dressed. I'm dressed like a crackhead. I mean, I'm on crutches. A lot of crackheads are walking around on crutches as well. That doesn't help. But this guy had no idea. Like, just wasting his time. No discipline, no direction, no idea what to do after college. Didn't have any skills, talents, interests. Didn't have any guidance on what to do. Didn't play any sport. Look, I just didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I knew I didn't want to go to university. Even back then, I knew that was bullshit, but I didn't know what to do. And I was drinking all the time. Got a job one time. Like, I've never had a job really before, but I get a job once. We were in a call center, right? And I was selling missold packaged bank accounts. So essentially, it was like a call center, right? And they'd fire about 10 people every single week. It was one of them when they just get loads of people through the door. You've got to hit an insanely high target, and then if you don't, they boot you out, yeah? And I went to do this, and I was basically ringing old ladies up in the middle of the day. As soon as you say bank account on the phone, you are done, yeah? And they will let you read the full entire script before even telling me, or just hanging up the phone. So you would be reading a full script, and you're like that at the end, ugh. And then they hung up the phone on you. Lasted 2 weeks, then I got fired. I actually hit the quota, but my manager messed up the call and she got me fired. Now, I didn't want the job anyway, so I just thought, whatever, you know what? But I realised the job's not the way. A job is not going to get me what I want, right? What I want is, I want to be jacked. And what I want is, I want to have freedom. So I wanted money. I wanted freedom, right? I never had it before. And I used to fantasize about it hard. All the time. So I had to sit down and really think and reflect about what I wanted, yeah. I had to get really clear about what I wanted. And look, throughout this guide, I've put 5 steps, right? These are the most 5 important lessons that I've ever learned, right? And this is 7 years of working 7 days a week, pretty much. 12-hour days, 10-hour days, pretty much. Listen, I've been doing 70-hour weeks since a teenager. I shouldn't have done it that much, but I have done. And I spent a lot of time on my own. And it took me a long time to learn these lessons, right? And these lessons can be applied to anything you're going to do. Whatever business model you want to go in, right? If you're a young guy, you want to get jacked and you want to get paid, right? If you listen to these, you're likely going to get there faster. Learn from my mistakes. So, this is the first incredibly important step. This is where it all changed, right? Because sometimes when you're at zero and you're starting from nothing, you've got no skills, no confidence, don't know what direction you're going, no discipline, like you feel like you're just at scratch and you've got nothing, which a lot of young people are, right? I've never even tasted money at this point. I've never even seen it. I've never even met like rich people, right? So when you're in that position, sometimes all you've got, yeah, is your two hands and your imagination. You've got to put those two things to work, right? So what's that mean? Well, it means imagine what you want, yeah, and use your hands to get it, right? This is what I used to do. I'd sit and fantasize in great detail. And the worst situations that I were in, i.e., I started hustling on market stalls and stuff like that. I'll get into that later. I've always been working, I've always been hustling, but I never knew the direction it was going in, right? This was my issue. So at my worst times, when I'm working weekends in the cold, early mornings with fingerless gloves on, stood outside all day, I'm watching people my age go shopping and have fun and live their lives, right? The shit times I were in, yeah. I'd just sit there and I'd imagine and I'd fantasize about what I wanted. And in great detail, yeah, in great detail. Like the cars and the clothes. And listen, I'll be very clear, I'm not rich, I'm not there yet, 100%, but I've never had a job. I've had a lot of freedom, been to a lot of places and made a lot of money online. I'm not going to class myself as rich. I've not got the car that I want and all those things. But look, this is what is going to get you through the worst times. When you're so crystal clear and convinced about yourself, right? If you've imagined a scenario in your mind over and over and over again, yeah, it gets so clear in your mind that your mind knows it's legit. It knows it's real, right? If people just say, "Oh, I want to be rich," that's it. Well, that's just a wish, then, isn't it? You're not actually creating that. But when you're thinking about it and manifesting it, and perhaps you're seeing elements of what you want in real life sometimes. You walk past a nice car or you go past a nice shop. I used to think about even the clothes in shops, right? I went to flannels when I was a kid. I used to always go to flannels, but never buy anything because I was so broke, right? I remember one time there were a blue Stone Island jumper, bright blue. This was back when Stone Island jumpers were about 150 quid. And I had no money, right? Used to go try it on, try it on, try it on. A couple of times I bought it, returned it, bought it, returned it. And I never ended up keeping it because it was just too much money for me. I knew then it were a waste of money, but I used to always think about that jumper, yeah? Always think about that jumper. And I'll come back to that also, right? And I used to use my imagination to my benefit. That would be my driving factor because I saw in such great detail what I wanted. That's what started making it happen. And listen, let's be very clear. I wanted to get paid. I wanted respect. I wanted to be stacked. As simple as that. I hope you want those things as well. But look, when you're creating this in your mind and you're creating such a vivid image and you can see it so clearly, your actions and your mind starts to look for opportunities and it starts coming together. But it's a long process. This is probably one of the most important things you've got to understand if you are wanting these goals that are hard to achieve, right? So if you want to get jacked, if you want to get a full successful business doing hundreds of thousands, millions of pounds, whatever, you've got to get your relationship with delayed gratification on point, yeah? Because your daily action is going to be training, dieting, working, whatever it is. But if you're wanting these hard to achieve tasks, you are not getting paid in response to your action on a daily basis, right? The gratification is delayed. So the employees will go to work, they'll do their work, get paid at the end of the month, they're getting paid quickly, right? Or if you've got a bad habit, well, you're getting the benefits of that habit straight away. Now, the things that are hard to attain are the things that less people try to get because of delayed gratification. This is the thing that stands in the way between successful people and unsuccessful people. If you want to get hard acquired skills and attributes and accolades, you have to get comfortable with delayed gratification. So what does this mean? This means that you will not see the benefit for many, many years sometimes. Yeah. If you want to get a good body, look, you're going to have to train for 10 years, 7 years, 5 years. But it's a long time. If you want to build a full business, that's not going to be done in 3 months. It's not going to be done in 6 months. Yeah. You have to give time to the process. And you have to get used to this feeling day to day, right? And listen, this is tough, right? I cannot tell you how many days I've worked for free. Because I've never had a job. I've always worked for myself. I've been used to this at a very early age, right? I was used to going and doing a market and making no money. I was used to going and doing a trade show not making any money. but I wasn't paid in proportion of my time. I was paid in proportion with my preparation and what it was like and how I performed on the day. And I like it like that because some days you can get paid more, but believe me, some days you get paid less. And some months you go through where you're on a losing streak and you feel like you're not making any progress. But it's important to remember, just because you're not seeing the progress doesn't mean you're not making progress. And if you get your head around delayed gratification and have this in your mind every time you do difficult tasks, this is what's going to set the results apart. And the people who can't handle this is the people that don't win. But the people who can handle this are the people that win. And that is from my experience. And you got to understand the basis of all your self-development. So if you want to get in shape, it revolves around finances. Now, I'm not saying for a second you've got to be balling to get in good shape. Yeah, you can be flat broke and get in good shape. But money is the driving factor of everything. It's the driving factor of how often you see your friends, how often you see your family, how often you can go on trips, how much time you can take for yourself and help other people. It's not all about buying material goods, but the quality of your life is all going to stem from your finances. So finances has to be top number one, right? To be honest, finances for me became before my health. Became before everything else. I mean, my health wasn't super bad, but sometimes when you're hustling and you're working 24 hours and you can't sleep one night, well, you can't always have the luxury of your health. Sometimes, if you're really hustling and you've got responsibilities, you need to give it to the hustle first. So, with that being said, I knew that if I want to get my life together and I want to change my lifestyle, I want to move out my area, I want to go these places, I want to meet these people, right? I need to start hustling, right? I couldn't really get a job. I did have that one quick job, but I knew that it wasn't aligned with my goals. So I started doing all types of hustling. And guys, please, please, please understand when I say anything. I was doing any hustle. I don't care if it was £2 an hour. In my mind, as a 16, 17-year-old kid, I'd rather earn £2 than nothing. In hindsight, I probably should have been learning something online instead of going and hustling for £2 an hour. I'm not saying I did it consistently, but you can see what I mean. I always chose the money first. I thought I'd rather go earn a little bit of money than waste my time. So I was doing market stalls, I was collecting scrap metal, I was selling eggs, I was delivering eggs wholesale, I was selling stuff on eBay, buying clothes, used clothes, shoes, cleaning it up, going to outlet stores, going to retail stores. Anything I could do, jobs for people, knocking on people's doors, any little hustle I could do, I was doing in the beginning. I was hustling as much as possible. Now, I say hustling, I say working at something. That's where you're swapping your time for money, really, because you're hustling, you're buying and selling, right? Because I had no skills or money. But the one thing that I did was time, right? And this is the common thing with all people, right? Everyone's got three assets, and that is their time, skills, and finances. Well, if you're a young man, you've probably got a lot of time, but no skills and finances. That's the position that I was in. But what I realized is I can trade my time for skills and finances. So you can get a job, you can sell something, you can learn something online. My abundant asset was time, but I needed to get my skills and finances up. So I started swapping all my time for skills and finances. And I started creating more time. Yeah, I created more of that asset by wasting less of it. So I wasn't playing the Xbox. I wasn't sitting about on social media. I stopped going out and getting drunk like an idiot, right? And if you look at your asset classes there, you might be a bit older, right? You might be similar to my age now, and you've got a little bit of savings, but you've got no time and you've got no skills. Well, if I've got finances but no time and skills, I can either pay for somebody else's time or I can pay for skills by taking a course, paying for coaching, going to a mastermind, buying books. You can trade these off of each other. And when I realized this is where I started really making some progress, right? So listen, no joke, I was working 7 days a week, man. And I'm not saying you have to do this. I was forcing myself to work just for my ego, really. But I was hustling constantly all the time. And this is how obsessed you've got to be in the beginning. Because, guys, it takes a lot of momentum to get the ball moving, right? You've got to get that cash from somewhere. And if you're broke, well, you have to do a lot of work. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to bullshit you. If you want to start making real numbers and making some real money, you have to do a lot of work. Yeah. But it's cool. You can do that. And look, this is the second point, right? So I was looking to maximize my time, right? So what I was doing was, by the way, I'm still going to the gym all the way through this. No matter what you're doing, you cannot skip the gym because it's going to help you work more anyway. Well, what I was doing was I was making money online and combining it with in-person hustling. So I was doing eggs through the day. I was going doing scrap metal. I was going to outlets in the morning. I were doing market stalls on the weekend. Look at this guy on the market stall, straight hustling. And I was building my cash up, right? Building all my money up. And I was selling all the time. Now, the reason why I was doing this is because I could be at the market in an afternoon or on a weekend. I could go to the outlet in the morning and I could be selling stuff online 24 hours a day. So all of a sudden, I was doing multiple hustles and getting paid multiple times per day. And the reason why this is number two is for this following point, right? I was insanely tight. Insanely tight. I spent nothing on anything else other than the things that were making me money. I spent no money on anything else other than stock or anything that were making me money. Fuel, my van, whatever. I was only spending my finances on the hustle. Now, what this means is you have to sacrifice the finances from your personal life. So I was not going out on weekends. I was not buying designer clothing. I wasn't going on 2 holidays a year. And it was shit. Yeah. Well, if you want it, that's what you've got to do. The problem is, I was getting into a business that was very cash intensive, right? I understand if you're doing a service for somebody, you don't need to do that. And I'm not saying that anyone should do it as crazy as I did. I was just insanely hooked, right? But I was so tight and I reduced my living expenses, right? No Starbucks coffees, no eating out all the time, all these things. I focused all of my time, finances, and knowledge into one thing, which was my hustling. Now, I was just doing the hustling in the beginning to get the ball moving, right? But this is essential, and people want to skip this. Yeah, people want to skip this. This is why people are buying D squared t-shirts on Klarna, right? Idiotic. But look, as well, on this market right here, this was on Leeds Brigade. It was the busiest centre in Leeds, right outside Harvey Nichols. Harvey Nichols is a massive designer store in the UK. Sells all designer clothing. And I used to watch people my age walking into that shop while I was stood there in the winter in fingerless gloves, right? Making little £5, £2 here. But look, I used to make £100 in a day at that stall, and I was getting paid the most out of anyone I knew at my age, right? So I didn't give a fuck what anyone thought. I was making money here. I was hustling. I was contributing to my goal. But I used to watch those people and I used to think to myself, you'll see. You'll see. Go enjoy yourself now. Go spend your money. You'll see who's on top. And that's the type of mindset you've got to have. You've got to create enemies, right? I'm not saying create that people are coming after you and all that type of stuff. But what I'm saying is, you're competing against people. It's player versus player. And if you're hustling and you're putting the work in, you're going to be on top. But your on top is going to be in a few years' time. Delayed gratification. So this is it. I was saving my money. All my spare downtime would be watching entrepreneurial content. Because the thing is, I knew buy and sell. I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to do an online business. I didn't know how to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know how to concentrate. I didn't know about making money. I didn't know about money. I didn't know about skills, acquiring skills. I didn't know anything, right? So it was very clear. I had to rewire my brain, right? Well, bearing in mind I was smoking weed and rolled up cigarettes, yeah, as a kid. Well, I definitely needed to rewire my brain, right? I spent a lot of time around a lot of losers, okay? And your area will condition you in a certain way. Like, listen, I'm from Bradford. I don't live in a very crime-ridden area. I mean, you know, kind of is, but at the same time isn't. But look, your area is going to condition you in a certain way, and it's your job to condition yourself to how you want to be, not to your area. Don't stay restricted to your area. So I started watching this content, and I started rewiring my own mind. I started realizing and putting the dots together how I could end up being like the people that I was watching online. So I was watching all these guys, Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, the top entrepreneurs, right? And I was so locked in because all I would do is hustle, hustle, hustle. And my downtime would be content consumption, right? And I started changing how my mind worked. I was rewiring my mind. I was creating an entrepreneurial mind and desire, and I was learning constantly, constantly learning. This is another major point. I spent a lot of time on my own and I changed my mind to how I wanted it to be. Now, you can put these things together, and this sounds like a bit of a monk mode where you're very focused and you're putting yourself in an incubator to try and change yourself to one way. And people call it monk mode now. I didn't know what monk mode was at the time, right? This is just what I did. So, this was a straight hustle period in the beginning, right? I was just focused on the money, wasn't learning anything until this point, and I thought that's what I needed. But I had to start working smart, right? So even when I was watching entrepreneurial content online and rewiring my mind, if you're just going and watching general entrepreneurial stuff, it's entertainment, right? You can rewire your mind, but you're not really getting in depth knowledge in things, and that's the big difference, right? So at this point, I'm getting paid. Yeah, I'm getting paid really well. And listen, I'll tell you a little story. The first time I ever did a profit and loss account for my business, I did £10,000 in net profit, and I had no idea. This is how busy hustling I was. I was so focused on just grinding, yeah? I was getting paid like a doctor, and I didn't even know. Nobody else knew either. Because you would see, if you'd have seen me back then, I was driving around in my little silver van, doing 50, 60,000 miles a year. It was an £800 little van, a Citroen Berlingo from 2002. I was dressed like a little chav, tracksuits and night gear that I was getting from outlets. That's all I used to wear. Kind of scruffy looking, never really got much time outdoors. Looked probably tired all the time, bad social skills. But I was getting paid like a doctor. And nobody knew, because nobody saw me because I was grinding my fucking face off. I didn't even know how much money I was making. Because the money was going to the business, so it was never even my money. I was just working for the business in the beginning, right? And that's how locked in you've got to be. I'm not saying it should take that long. It took me a little bit too long to realize, and it took me a while to transition from employee to business owner. Because yeah, I had a business that was profitable, but I was still an employee. And I was an employee working for free and doing double overtime, yeah, all the time. So I'm making cash, but I'm putting it all back in the stock. I am reinvesting everything. Same process over and over. Make money, reinvest. Make money, reinvest. Make money, reinvest. And I'm just growing it. Because I know the more stock that I've got, the more money I'm making. And I'm getting online orders going out on a daily basis. I'm selling stuff in person, cash meets. I'm meeting drug dealers in car parks. I'm doing cash for thousands of pounds. I'm going here, there, and everywhere. I'm doing hustles and I'm doing all sorts. So busy. And I needed to step up though, because I knew I was just hustling like a busy idiot, right? And I was making money, but this is not the best way to do it because you're not working smart. You have to work hard and smart. It's not just working hard. And I worked hard for too long. And whilst I don't regret this, I wish someone was there to say, like, look, it's time to level up now. But this is exactly how I leveled up. This was the next step. So I had the bit of cash together. I've retrained my mind a little bit at this point. And now I started learning daily, right? Mainly YouTube. I'm learning all the time and I'm getting specific on stuff. And I got super organized, right? I never had a job. I never saw how you work. So what I did was I got one of these legend planners. This is a mini version here. I've been using these for years. Highly recommended to anybody. This is where you can plan out your day, right? You're planning out your day every half an hour increments. You're putting your top priorities. And you are now responsible for doing the stuff on that list. So I started really learning how to operate and learning how to move. And I started getting locked in and started going to the gym more. Well, I was going to the gym a lot, but I started taking it more seriously. I started learning more in depth about everything because I knew that that's what I was missing. I was doing the reps over and over, but I wasn't learning the depth of it to get the full value, right? So I knew I needed to learn how to scale. I was making a little bit of money, but I couldn't scale this operation. It was just me. So this is when I started studying e-commerce because I'm still hustling at this point. I'm selling on Instagram and stuff like that, but I need to learn e-commerce if I want to scale. I need a website. So I started doing this, and this is where the entire game changed, right? Planning my daily activity, keeping it down, making sure I was making progress. And this is perhaps one of the biggest factors in all the success I've ever had, right? I began being very strict on daily action. Now, what I used to do is I used to fantasize about what I wanted, And I used to think about it all the time. But when you're doing that, you're thinking about the biggest picture, the biggest goal, right? But when you focus on your daily action, you plan it and you're very concentrated on those daily tasks, you can look at the end of the day and see what you've done. And you're also accountable for what is on that paper. So every single day, I had to perform certain tasks that were aligned with my goal, right? Now, all these tasks were micro tasks and my goal was massive. But I knew that these tasks done on a daily basis, accumulated over time, would result in the thing that I wanted. So I used to force myself to work around the clock. So I'd write stuff down, but if I finished that list, I'd just be adding stuff on. And I'd be working till 12 p.m., I'd be working till 1 p.m., anytime. But when you've done the list and you've done all your priorities and you're just telling yourself to work, well, I was packaging orders and listing shit on eBay at like 9 p.m. at night all the time. Yeah, that's a hamster wheel. I'm not making progress doing that, but you're still working. So you're working and not making progress. You can just pay people for that. And it took me a long time to transition out of that, right? But, you know, it wasn't working smart. This was damaging because what ends up happening is you're getting sick of the work because you're working all the time and you start actually working less efficient when you're working. But by understanding your daily action and focusing on that and only that, that is the only place that you succeed. So be super strict on your input on a daily basis and don't focus on the output, right? You cannot control the output in any way. So this is a major point. And don't worry, we'll recap all these later on. And look, before I launched the site, I built up the business Instagram. I was selling a lot through DMs, but it just got too messy. And it took me a long time to launch the site. This is another thing. You've got to act fast. And I kind of was acting fast, but you can always be faster. But don't delay with decision making. You need to get to work, right? So within 1 month of launching the site, I was hitting 10 to 20K months, like consistently, right? And I started looking at my competitors and see what they were doing. Some of them had sites, but they were shit. And my site was shit, but I knew that I could beat these guys. They looked like they didn't even try. And I thought, if I'm doing 20K now, and look, around all this time, I'm always training. But I can see, looking back, there's a direct correlation between when I was making money, the bottom row, and when I was not, top row, right? And it's pretty mad with your training, you know. Like, I get into different training for 6 months at a time, and you will see your body change. When I was fighting, this is what I looked like. And then when I was turned into a bit of a runner, I started getting this type of body. When I was lifting in the gym a lot, I got into this. You will literally see your body change and morph together, right? And I hit a sticking point, yeah, with my business and my training and everything. I was just at a sticking point. I was stagnant. And I was like a hamster wheel working all the time. So this is what I did to really start scaling and level everything up, right? I broke down my industry and I started putting real hours into learning each step in depth. So I didn't look at just searching econ videos. I started breaking down what are the sections. And this is the same thing with my training, right? I started looking in depth at how do you do email marketing in depth? How do you do conversion rate optimization? How do you do content creation? How do you do paid ads? And I started searching in depth on each section. And when I started piecing together the things on each section, that's when I really started going from 20K to 40K, 50K, 60K months, right? There was a direct correlation with how in-depth my knowledge got to the success of my business, okay? And this is where I was working smart. I got a full-time member of staff, and I just did the same thing over and over again on a larger scale. And the thing is, you've got to remember, right? It is much harder starting an online business in the beginning than it is later down the line. And scaling, right? It's much easier to scale. Once you've already got the data there, it's so much easier to scale. In the beginning, when you don't really know what you're doing and you've got the wrong guidance, and look, it's just much easier once you've got it going. And just to do a little bit of recap, these are the steps that you need to follow if you're wanting to really change your life around like I did. This is what I did, right? First thing I did was get crystal clear on what I wanted. I got a clear vision in mind and I spent some time on this, right? Then number 2, I was hustling out of my face and making myself broke because all the money I had was going to the business. Crucial step, each one of these, right? And then I had to rewire my mind to really start thinking like a business owner and learning about entrepreneurship. And then, armed with the finances, armed with the knowledge, and armed with the sacrifices, I started the compounding effect by doing daily action over and over again, which started compounding into bigger action. Then, once I started seeing some success, that's when I opened up to the deeper learning, and I was doing the same thing over and over again at a higher level. And look, those are the steps that I took to get my first M online in sales and get chucked. Yeah. So I hope you help. I hope that helps some of you. If that's what you're looking to do, I hope you are. And yeah, listen, subscribe to the channel. A bit of a longer one today. If you've stuck to this point, then you're serious about your progress. And shout out to you, my friend. Till next time.